Wonder Woman, Historia, The Amazons, issue 1, Kelly Sue DeConnick writing with Phil Jimenez on the art. Black Label book, which I would have liked to check out, but it was a huge book, and this was a very busy week. So
I will say it reads significantly quicker than 80 pages would lead you to believe, because most of it is double-page spreads, and a lot of them are splashes with not actually that much text on.
And so it's still a 40-page book on a week full of 48-page books.
Yes, but
yes,
this was by far the book I was most excited for. This was the first thing I read out of everything. This was easily the one that if I was reading only one book this week, this was the one I would have chosen. Obviously, going in, maybe that changed by the end, but like that was the one I was going in. I was like, this is the book I'm reading. This has been 4 years in the making, I think, at this point. And
well, that's only because Red Hood stopped. I mean, if Red Hood was still going on, that was it this
obviously,
week.
That's why. Yeah, well, this is a book I've been excited for years at this point, and then all the early buzz was coming out, over the last week or so, and people were saying very good things, and I got very excited, and I'm pleased to say that it lived up. Also, there's like 7 or 8 pages, maybe 10 pages at the end that are not story. They are like supplemental material, essentially.
Does that add to the 70 pages?
They're still in those.
The 80s?
Yeah, they're part of that. There's like 10 pages that 80 is like that.
Oh, okay, so it's a 70-page book then. So it's a 35-page. Now we're getting closer to manageable.
Like I say, it doesn't actually take that long to read, and I would definitely recommend reading it because it is pretty fantastic. So it's kind of split into 2 halves. The first half of this book, which again, on it being split into 2 halves, a lot of these Black Label prestige books have had this feeling where you could probably have released this as 6 issues instead of 3 if you really wanted to. You could have probably got away with that. But this early stuff is essentially the creation of the Amazons. And it plays in pretty heavily on the Perez stuff from the late 80s. The well of souls of all the women wronged that was in Taurus. I think in that book it was like, here's the last one that they saved for Diana. This is that still essentially can hold true for this. This doesn't contradict that. This is just all of the other souls going free first. And it is basically, it's all the goddesses, all the major ones. You got Hestia, Artemis, Demeter, Hecate, Aphrodite, and Athena, all doing their bit. And then Hera, of course, is maybe doing her bit. It's hard to say. But they all have very unique designs, very distinct. The art it's so colorful, vibrant. It's like what's the style? It's kind of like soft watercolors, but it's got some digital vibrancy to it as well. It's very unique. But basically, it's all these goddesses go to Zeus and be like, hey, men are shit. What are you going to do about it? And Poseidon's like, we'll send a flood. We'll start over. And no, not mankind, men. What are you going to do about it? And Zeus is basically kind of goes down to, well, men suffer too. That is literally like one of his lines of dialogue. But, well, men suffer too. And he basically goes, look, I'm not saying women on the whole aren't, don't suffer, historically, yes, they suffer at the hands of men, but some of them deserve it. It's essentially his argument.
Well, why is Zeus sounding like a chud in this description here?
That is what Zeus should always sound like, because that is Zeus.
Yeah. Zeus is the ultimate Chad. There's just an a-hole that goes on trying to bang as many things as he can, even if he's not in his god form, right?
I said chud, but that was a Freudian slip. Chud is a movie.
Cannibalistic. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's.
Then Chud 2, Bud the Chud is the sequel to Chud.
Yes, we know.
It's when Zeus says, the world's not without justice. And it's Aphrodite goes, do you mean to suggest women have done something to deserve this? And he goes, as a whole, no. On occasion, individually, on occasion, you missed the point. We've all got a role to play. All us Greek gods, Ares is war, Poseidon's the sea. we're all very manly qualities, and that is reflected in the aggressive nature of man. And he's like, he's basically like, yeah, I'm not going to do anything. Just let it go. And obviously, the rest of the goddesses are not happy about this, so they make their way down to Hades, and there's a journey of each of them, except Hera, taking their own route through Hades to get down to Tartarus, where they are going to the Well of Souls, and they do do their ritual down there, and they take the souls, and they refuse to give birth to them down there. Essentially, they won't plant the seed. They will take the souls and take them up to the world where they're not corrupted. And again, all this gorgeous sequence of them making their way back and then releasing their, they're basically they're all in a jar, and then they empty their jar into somewhere in the world to create some Amazons. So you have all these different tribes of Amazons. So the first tribe is actually from Demeter, which they're like, yeah, you might have heard it was Athena who started all this off, but no, this of course it's the goddess of the harvest that the first seed's born from, and it makes sense. It goes through all the first Amazons of all of the individual tribes. So Artemis is Antiope, and Menelope from Hecate. All of them have like one champion, so to speak, and it goes through, and you've got all these different tribes of Amazons, which again lines up really nicely with what we're doing with Amazons right now in current continuity in a weird way. Obviously, there's complete coincidence given how long this book's been in the works, but kind of lines up nicely. And it boils down to them kind of just like, right, these are the tribes. I think it says in the back matter, it basically has a little rundown of each tribe, and it's like 5 Amazons from each of the 6, I think, is what the first of each tribe was, and obviously they've got their leader, their first one, being as part of that. But the back half of this book is actually the story of Hippolyta, and it's very interesting in that it's Hippolyta is not an Amazon; she is a slave in this world, and basically is she's told to go and get rid of this child. This family has given birth to a daughter. They've already got 3 daughters. They can't afford to have another one because it's a burden. It's not going to bring in anything. They literally cannot afford to keep it. So Diana is tasked with Hippolyta is tasked with taking the child to the river, putting it in a little basket and washing away and leaving it to the will of the gods. And if they want it, then they will find someone for it, or they will keep the baby for themselves. But after she leaves, she kind of feels bad and tries to run back to find it. And you just have this gorgeous sequence of her running down this river, and she never finds it, or at least not here. But the idea is she just runs and runs and runs. It gets very mythical here, where it has her like running through seasons all over the place, and it's very intentional. And she finally gets to a point where some bandits essentially capture her, and she's on the verge of being killed in the world of men, as it actually puts it now at this point in the book, for I think the first time. And she is saved by some Amazons, and she's like, "Oh, did you kill them because what they were going to do to me?" And they're like, "No, not because of what they were going to do to you, or at least not just because of that, but because they would have done it. They've been doing that to countless women, and it's only fair that they get what they deserve." So that's kind of like the bulk of the issue here, is them having this final first meeting here, but final point of this book is introducing Hippolyta to this world, and it's very narrated from this future perspective, because the Amazons who meet her do say our future queen. And there's still like little bits with Hera, where Hera comes along and essentially kind of sets Hippolyta on this path now, and has her on a big horse of war. It's got like a skeleton all on it, like a skull, and like a skeleton around it, and it looks badass. is basically it, and she's trying to get the baby back essentially still, and it's kind of what this quest's going to lead her to. And I don't know if they're going to tell me by the end that baby will be Diana, or if it's more just symbolic.
She's gonna get her baby back, baby back, baby back. She's gonna get her baby back, baby back, baby back.
But you know, that is the issue. Is those two halves of the story, but it's just told with so much style. The art is phenomenal throughout. Like, I cannot oversell it enough. Just how incredible this art looks. It is pretty much like nothing else. No other book I've ever read. And then yeah, like I said, you've got the backmatter, the tribe of Athena, the tribe of Hecate. You know, like just little sketches of the 5 Amazons in each of those tribes, and you know, a little bit of a little, like, you know, couple of sentences about each of them. It feels pretty epic in scope. Yeah, no, it's an incredible book. It says spring for the next issue, which Jesus is so far away when this has already been, what, 4 years since they announced it. So yeah, it's going to take a while to all come out. I can't remember if this was 3 issues or 4 in total. I don't know if it says on the front cover actually. No, it doesn't. It just says book 1, not what it's of. That's not helpful. Thank you for that, DC. This is going to make one hell of a gorgeous hardcover at some point, though. Yeah, I definitely. Anyone who's interested, especially in the mythology side of the early Amazon stuff, I definitely think it's worth checking out. Weirdly, I know that sounds like Pete would hate this, but correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, when we looked at the early Perez stuff, you were actually surprisingly into it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you might enjoy this as well, because it kind of plays along that kind of line of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's phenomenal. This is like a 9. It's yeah, it lived up to the hype.